What's up, everybody? Welcome back. It's going to be the second event breakdown on this channel. This time it's for UFC Fight Night Dolidze versus Imavov. Just like last time, we're going to break down some fights that I think are good, some fighters that might be over or underrated, and just some fights that I think are funny. So let's get right into it. Alright, now when I was editing this video, I realized that this part just did not save, so I'm going to redo it really quick. So our first category is the most entertaining fights. The obvious answer for this category would probably be Renato Moicano and Drew Dober, at least on paper. But I like to try to keep this category maybe something that's under the radar. So my first pick, is Alyashkov Khizriev versus Makhmud Muradov. Now, if you're like most people, I know what you're thinking. You hear the name Alyashkov Khizriev, and you just do not want to watch that fight. Because you just assume this guy's going to shoot for the legs, take him down, wrap up his legs, ground and pound, maybe late, maybe get a TKO or a submission. But you know how the fight's going to play out. But Alyashkov Khizriev has shown in his fight with Denis Tululin that he has a willingness to mix in the stand-up as well. If the fight's not going inherently his way right off the bat, exactly how he planned it, he is a good striker and he's comfortable on the feet, and he demonstrated a good chin in his last fight. So I see, at least in portion of this fight, staying on the feet. And when he was on the feet with Denis Tululin, it was pretty good. You know, they were swinging wild, they were hitting each other with big shots. I think he's an exciting striker when he's forced to stay on the feet, but obviously that's not his bread and butter. Makhmud Muradov's a powerful, fun to watch, exciting striker. You watched his last fight against Brian Barberena, just dropping him multiple times. That one fight, I forget the guy's name, but he slept him. The dude's mouthpiece went flying on the ground and having like a seizure. It was crazy. But I do think that he has the right capabilities to bring out a dogfight out of Khizriev. And I think that's what's going to happen. I honestly see him being able to at least deny early takedown attempts and then keep the fight standing long enough to get Alyashkov Khizriev to engage with him on the feet. And when those two are engaging on the feet, I see it becoming kind of a firefight. Now, I'm not saying that means I think Makhmud Muradov is going to win entirely. I do think Khizriev has more than capable of taking him down and just holding him and submitting him, which he might do as the fight gets later. But at least in portion, I think this fight is going to feature some slugfest exchanges. So that's why this is my first pick for this category. My second pick for this category is Jamal Pogues versus Thomas Peterson. Now, unranked heavyweights usually suck. They're so boring to watch, because they just gas out and the technique's not as good as the higher weight classes. But, Thomas Peterson has only been to the judge one time ever in MMA, and that was as an amateur. He's never been to the judges as a professional. He has all knockouts except for one submission he got in the Contender Series. Jamal Pogues is a little bit of a snoozer, I will admit. The man doesn't have very much finishing capabilities. I don't think he'd rip his way out of a paper bag. But Thomas Peterson, again, I think he will do enough to at least make the fight entertaining until they both potentially gas out. And then it'll be entertaining anyways because, unranked heavyweights gassed, just throwing haymakers, that's entertaining too, to an extent. So I think this fight will start entertaining. If Thomas Peterson can't get him out of there to begin with, then I think they'll both gas out, and then it'll just be an old-fashioned winging your arms around, hoping maybe you'll hit someone and they'll get knocked out. And for those reasons, I do think this fight will be relatively entertaining, at least in comparison to a lot of the other fights on this card. For funniest fight, firstly, we are going to go ahead and go with Thimba Gorimbo versus Pete Rodriguez. Now, both of these guys have extreme upside in their funniness factor. Thimba Gorimbo, just for the fact that, he was featured on a lot of Rock stuff. The Rock, gave him a house. That stuff just adds to him being a little bit funny. And then Pete Rodriguez, in my opinion, is the funnier guy in this fight. I mean, he's a little small for this weight class. I feel like he could cut down to lightweight, but he wants to stay at welterweight, which I guess that's his own choice. But his last fight was against Mike Jackson.
A spinning kick to the dick.
Yeah, that Mike Jackson, and he knocked him out, which, I mean, that's what you gotta do when you're fighting someone like that, it's a lose-lose situation. You either win and it's, okay, well, you beat Mike Jackson, or you lose and it's like, okay, you lost to Mike Jackson, so, but he's a funny guy, made his debut against Jack Della Maddalena. I do think this fight's gonna be pretty decently exciting. I mean, Thimba Gorimbo, it isn't necessarily a crazy finisher, and when he does finish, it's not necessarily a fun finish per se, but Pete Rodriguez, at least from the fights I've seen of his, comes at it with action and hands. I think, you know, this will be an interesting fight while it lasts, but these two guys are really the two funniest guys in the card, in my opinion. I know I said that fight was the most funny on the card, and I do still stand by that, but I think a close second is Molly McCann versus Diana Belbita. Now, you might ask me what's funny about Diana Belbita, and I will tell you nothing. But you will ask me what's funny about Molly McCann, and I will say it's Molly McCann. Alright, let's go to the next category. Alright, last category is the most underrated and overrated fighters on the card. Now, my pick for the most underrated fighter on the entire card is Nasruddin Imavov. Now, I don't think he's being massively underrated or anything. You know, I think he is the favorite in betting lines, but I haven't been seeing that much love for him on any of my timelines on any social medias. Maybe I'm just not on the right side. I've been seeing most people seem to be siding with Roman Dolidze, which I don't understand. I think Nasruddin, you know, has showed a level higher than what Roman Dolidze has been able to show so far. If you're getting outstruck by Marvin Vettori, I don't think you have anything on the feet for Nasruddin Imavov. You know, he did get outstruck by Sean Strickland, and, you know, I don't really think highly of Sean Strickland at all, but I do think that was probably one of his tougher stylistic matchups in the division. And I don't think Roman Dolidze poses the same problems that Sean Strickland would pose for a guy like Nasruddin. I see him being able to keep him on the outside of his punches all night and probably coast to a clear decision, at least in my opinion. Now, the fighter that I think has been the most overrated on this card is Azat Maksum. I think that's how you say his name. Now, this guy, I don't see the hype, and I really thought Nate Maness was gonna kill him. You know, I was prepared to make a video about that and make that my pick, and then I'd seem like a genius afterwards, because I feel like he would have been the heavy favorite in that matchup. But I do think he's just being so heavily overrated. His last fight was just not impressive in my opinion, just not impressive at all. But he is fighting Charles Johnson. So Charles Johnson, I think, is a guy who gets underrated a little bit. But I made that mistake last time with Malcolm Gordon. You know, I was using losses to justify his skill set. So I'm not gonna give him the benefit of the doubt and give him credit for his last fight where he came on late and almost finished. Now, I do think he probably has enough to beat Charles Johnson, but I'm just saying, just in future matchups down the line, I just feel like this guy's being overrated. You know, I'm not saying he's guaranteed to win here, he's guaranteed to lose. You know, it's not really like a huge step up in competition, but I do just not see him having long-term value in the division. Unless he severely improves, which I mean is possible. You know, there's guys that have looked bad in their debut and then come back and look better in their second, third fights. But I just think, at least from what I've seen, he should not be getting at least the support that I've seen him be getting for this fight. So that wraps it up. I tried to make this video a little bit shorter than the last one, just because I felt like the last one was a little bit too long. But I'm gonna try to make some other types of videos too. But I'm gonna try to keep making these each week as well, at least the weeks that are a card. I will see everybody next time. Peace out, guys.